I never thought that I would be 43 and never been married, not engaged, not a prospect, not nothing. And I now understand those church women. Now that my daughter's in college, my son lives with his dad, I'm the only one here. And I work all day and I come home to a peaceful house. You see people's marriages, and I'm an Uber driver. I'm taking couples on dates and all of that good stuff. I had a guy in my car today that was surprising his wife and taking her to Italy and Paris. And I was just hmm. Like, it's not about the things that he said, it's about the fact that he loves his wife. And I was just like, dang, was I like a terrible person in a former life? Like, was I horrible in my youth? Like, how come I'm not lovable? I've had men tell me that they love me. And I've had guys say they wanted to marry me, all of that good stuff, but I'm still single. And I come home alone. And I understand that I have the Lord. Trust me, I do. But at the same time, that doesn't stop the fact that I understand those church women now. I understand when a fine man walk in, it's every woman for herself. It's not a good feeling to be older and you see people around you celebrating their 10th, 15th, 20th, 30th anniversary, and you're like, yeah, I haven't made it more than 6 months.
I ain't gonna lie, she had me feeling bad for her for the first maybe 30 seconds of the video, but deep down I knew it was coming. I knew the truth was gonna be revealed. See, women, this is why a lot of us men, when we hear you come online crying, talking about there's no good men out there, and it sucks that you're this age and you haven't found anybody, and why doesn't anybody love me, and all this crap. The reason why we don't pay attention to you is because of this right here. And you women are so bad about this, y'all don't even know y'all doing it. She said, why won't anybody love me? And in the next sentence, she said, I've had plenty of men tell me they love me. I've had men proposing to me, wanting to marry me, but I'm still single. All the men are looking around confused, like, what? But she couldn't hear that. And I know a lot of you women out there were so busy being sympathetic to her, y'all didn't hear it either. In most situations, women, and I don't like to jump on y'all back like this, but it's you. You have men who want to be with you. You have men who want to love you. Y'all don't want them. And I don't want to hear that garbage about they're not the right men for you. Most of you women do not know what the right man for you is. This is why you walk around talking like her. You mean to tell me every dude who told this woman they loved her was a crackhead? This is why when y'all come online with this garbage, we don't want to hear it. Because we know the truth. We know a lot of you women, if you're halfway decent looking, you're gonna have some men in your face wanting to be with you, wanting to love you. And this lady is 43. So you're trying to tell me in 25 years, I'm gonna go back to 18 years old, she hasn't met one man in 25 years who was decent enough for her to be with. Yeah, save that for somebody else, because I don't believe that, and none of the other men out here believe it either. And a lot more of you women are gonna be in the same situation that she's in, because y'all don't want to acknowledge that this is what's happening. You guys are trying to wait at the finish line for these great men to show up. You ignored the men you most likely should have paid attention to it because you're too busy worried about the man that doesn't even know you're alive. This happens with a lot of you women. And I already told you, y'all picker is broken. It's just broken. Y'all don't know how to pick anything. So in most situations, that's the issue. So men are not sympathetic to her. They're probably not going to be sympathetic to you, because we know the deal. Now give her about 10 more years. She will be the lady in church waiting for some new church member to show up, and she's going to be in the pool of women fighting over him. I mean, right at the church, they're all going to want to go over and introduce themselves, and it's going to turn into a ludicrous music video.
Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way.
And that's a shame, because her man was probably the guy who approached her in the grocery store last week, but he was 2 inches shorter than what she wanted.
But I think that if anybody makes a false accusation about anything, let's use a woman making a false, she knows it's a false accusation against a man, and she's caught, and it's proven she did that beyond a reasonable doubt, she should serve whatever prison sentence that man would have served, right, if her accusation had been believed.
And why is it so hard for things like that to get passed? Like, shouldn't that be cut and dry?
Well, because most of the people making the false accusations tend to be women making those kinds of false accusations. Mm-hmm. And women are treated, as in life generally, with softer gloves than men are treated. They get shorter prison sentences. They get more favorable treatment in court. They're less likely to get convicted in the first place on essentially identical facts. society just treats women differently than men, especially when they're going to be put to some kind of duress.
See, I believe a lot of this came from how women were looked at back in the day. This whole thought process of let's protect women came from how they looked at women back then. But this is 2025, and we have a lot more information on these women now. We know they lie just as much as men, they cheat just as much as men, and there are a lot of women out there who are just as savage as men. Let's be honest, a lot of these women are evil.
I think you're evil!
We know they would do, say anything so they don't have to be accountable for stuff. This is why so many men have been thrown in jail, because they got caught with a girl and she didn't want to just say she gave it up. So she said he raped her, and now this man spent the rest of his life in jail. So many women have lied on men. Talk about paternity tests. So many men are walking around here thinking they're fathers to kids they're not fathers to. There are women out there who have the same tendency that y'all claim men have, but for whatever reason, we're still treating them like this is 1862. That is not the case. Stop putting these women on a pedestal and treating them like they're some delicate flowers. That's not what we're dealing with nowadays. These laws need to change. Start making some of these women accountable, and a lot of that stuff that they've been getting away with will go away. But as long as we got these politicians in office who are too scared to make a move like that because they worry about their poll numbers, it ain't gonna happen. And these evil women, and I am not talking about all women, I know this is not all of them, there are some great women out there, but the evil ones who are lying on these men, getting them put in prison just because they wanted to, they need to pay for that. They need to pay the same price they were trying to make that man pay. So I agree with this post, I agree with this man. Unfortunately, I don't think anything's gonna change anytime soon. And I'm gonna be honest with you, any woman who can listen to this and understand how many lives are affected and how many lives will be affected until something is done about it, if you can listen to this and don't have a problem with the way things are now, you are probably one of those evil women I was just talking about. And that's okay, you don't have to agree with this now, but just remember, karma ain't no joke. So once your son, nephew, grandson, or whoever is in this situation, I am pretty sure you will agree with it then.
When my parents got divorced, I suffered. But so did my dad. I remember I was so embarrassed that my parents had gotten separated, and it felt like every other kid had their dad and not me. And it sucked. But life really sucked for my dad. See, while we're going through it, I still had my brother. I still had my mom. My mom had both of us. And my dad, he didn't have anybody. Sucks being a man sometimes. I remember still to this day, my jefito would have this little rinky-dinky truck, all rusted out, all torn to crap. He would stay at the Raspa stand that they made into an apartment, and you could literally put your hand on one wall and your hand on the other. And he would spend those nights there alone. And not just alone physically, alone in his heart too, because I wasn't talking to him. My mom would tell us that he don't want to be here. Your dad chose his drinking rather than his family, and that's why he's over there. He'd rather be over there. And as a young man, her words, they were poison. And then I hated my dad. I had so much resentment towards my dad. But I left him alone. I left him alone. And he was there all alone. And see, their problems weren't my problems. And I see my mom's motives now. Like, I think of it now as my jefita. I have so much respect for what she did, because she overfed us information. She told us a lot of negative things about my dad that I didn't need to know at that age. But I love that woman for that, because she's so selfish. She couldn't see an alternative of us going with him. So he always had to be the bad guy. I get it. I get her playbook. It's just so unfair to my dad. It's so unfair. He having to be there all alone without his kids in such a dark time in his life. It's horrible. So I'm asking y'all, all of y'all that are going through it, the little me's, the little yous, the little mijos, the little mijas, call your dad. Just because your parents got separated, whatever it is between them, call your dad. Hey, Pops, how are you doing? How are you holding up? As a man, having your kids just to say I love you is the world. So Father's Day's coming up. Let it be an excuse. Hey, Pops. How are you doing?
This video really hit home with me because I remember my father leaving the house when him and my mother got divorced. I was very young, but I do remember one day he was in the home and the next day he wasn't. But I don't remember doing this. Now, I did have 6 brothers and sisters, and the older ones could have done it, but I don't remember anybody doing that. You know, kids are selfish. We don't really think about the big picture. And it sucks because I never thought what happened to him. Like, what was he doing? Where was his life once he got put out the house and had to go figure out some other stuff? Nobody cares about that. People are very concerned with the wife after a divorce, but the husband, no one really cares. Who cares if you're sleeping under a bridge? And that sucks. It's just the way society is. But I've always loved my father because he always tried. He always came around and just did the best he could. So I always loved him and respected him for that. Now, I don't like the fact that his mother was speaking down on his father. I don't like that. I don't think that's good in any situation. The mother or the father should never do that. If the other parent is as bad as you say they are, you don't have to do anything. They're going to show the kid exactly who they are. So you don't have to spend your time punching down on him. Now, it was nice to hear that he was able to forgive his mother or at least try to understand his mother, but I'm pretty sure that did affect him a lot when he was younger. The whole point of me sharing this video is that I want people to start thinking about what happens to the husband after a divorce. I know a lot of women just believe after a divorce, the husband runs out there and starts sleeping with different girls every night and he's living the player life. But in most situations, that's not happening. He's probably living in some studio apartment because that's all he could afford while still paying for the house that you and the kids live in. He doesn't want to go out and have fun. He's probably so depressed and sad because he hasn't seen his kids in forever because you won't let him, or like he said, the kids don't want to speak to him because of what the mother told the kids. It's not always this party that y'all think it is. A lot of men are struggling. After a divorce, they have to glue their entire life back together because all of a sudden they went from having a home, having a wife, having kids, and now they have nobody. Now, I know young kids don't listen to my videos, but if you are a parent, you're going through divorce, all I can ask you to do is to make sure those kids don't forget about their father. Remind them, have you checked on your father? Call your father. Because when you're sitting in that depressed state and your life flipped upside down and you get a call from one of your kids just saying, hey, they're not asking for money, they're not asking to take them somewhere, just, hey, dad, I miss you, I love you. That would mean the world to any man in that situation. It doesn't matter what happened between you and him. There are certain situations, of course, where that can be bad. Like he did mention that the father struggled with drinking. Now, if it was just drinking, that's one thing, but if he was drinking and beating on the kids and beating on the wife and just beating on everybody, that's a whole different story. But he didn't mention anything like that, and I'm sure if that was the case, that would have came up. But in most situations, that man shouldn't be punished by not being able to see his kids or speak to his kids. And he definitely shouldn't have some woman over there kicking salt in their ears so they don't like him. The divorce rate is at an all-time high, so I know there are people out there going through it. If you're a family member, he needs you now more than ever. Check up on him. Make sure he's okay. Because in that situation, it'll be nice to know somebody is there with you. Somebody's in your corner. And one more thing, I know there's going to be a lot of women out there who are going to talk about how horrible their husbands were and how he didn't want to be with the kids and how he just wanted to do whatever. We're not talking about that man. Of course, there are some bad fathers out there who don't deserve this level of thought. But I'm talking about those other fathers out there because things didn't work out with the mother. All of a sudden, his life got turned upside down and nobody gives a damn about him. That's the man I'm talking about. So if you know somebody going through a divorce or if you're the person divorcing someone else, just don't forget about the dad. Do not let your kids forget about the dad because believe it or not, he may need you more now than ever. But anyway, leave your thoughts on the video. Appreciate you watching. See you next time.